Okay, okay, we will start. Okay, okay, you are able to see my screen, right? No issues. You are able to hear me as well.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Uh, Last class, I think, last couple of classes we covered something like access specifiers. Okay, constructor, destructors, roles, inheritance. Like how do you build a base object, uh, and how uh, the derived object calls the base class constructor and then the derived class constructors and all. Okay. Then
Oh yeah, finished.
okay, and then we talked about virtual destructors. What is the importance of virtual destructors when you inherit anything? Okay. So this I think this should come as 4 and 5. Okay, they should shuffle. I think we talked about pointers to objects and derived objects. Okay, this should be the right, I think. Pointers to object and the pointers to derived object. Okay, and in the same class we covered what is the importance of virtual destructors. Okay, what is the importance of virtual destructors? So the keyword virtual means it will expand to RTTA, vtables and all. Okay, so those all this common. So in the pointers to derived objects and type identification, runtime type identification of objects which are pointed by pointers. How we can identify what kind of object it is during runtime. Okay, and pointers to class members I'll cover. Before that, I'll cover maybe. I mean, we'll go through one examples of what is the importance of RTTA. Okay, so then maybe let's get this done. Multiple inheritance. I'll do that example maybe in polymorphism. So that's when it makes sense. Okay, so one thing we wanted to cover is multiple inheritance and pointers to class members. Okay, maybe this also I can do later, but I'll cover this up. So you guys want anything that you want me to repeat in this sections so far, or you guys have any doubts, or you guys? Mhm.
So the
Okay.
access specifiers one I didn't get.
The public private, they are the access specifiers.
Oh,
Public
okay.
private, they are called as
Mhm.
access
Yeah,
specifiers.
yes, yes.
So we understood them. Okay. So okay, okay. Before I think going to multiple inheritance. Okay. There are a couple of tricky interview questions that people can ask you. Maybe I'll take them now. Okay.
Mhm.
So some tricky interview questions what they can ask you. Okay. So first thing is we learned about inheritance, right? So far. Okay. So and we also know about access specifiers. Okay. Use based on that they will ask you a questions like how to create a uh, how to create a class which can only be I'll just add it. Okay. which can only be which cannot be created be created outside. Okay. So what does this question means? How to create a class which cannot be created outside by created by outside functions. Okay, or non trusted or friend functions. Okay. So you guys are able to understand this question. This how to create a class which cannot be created out by outside functions like main or any other functions which are not friends, either not friends or not trusted. So let me write the example as well. Okay, let me tell it in this way.
That public and base class
Mhm.
by using this things.
So that I will not tell,
Yeah.
but you should think.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I tried to answer. It's
Okay.
correct or not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a guess. Agree. So the question is something like this. Okay. So in base class में is there any friends? There are no friends. Derived में there are no friends. Okay. Okay. Do you want me to? Okay. So the question can be like this. Okay. Base class obj1 or base class p o. Instead of saying object, I would say instance one pointer to an instance two is equal to new base class. Okay. So whenever anyone is trying to, okay, so whenever any function, let it be main or some function, okay, some non-friend function or class, okay, some non-friend questions, mean function, they both should not be able to do this. Okay, they both should not be able to compile this. Okay, you guys think for it how to create it. Maybe meanwhile I'll just finish this. Okay. Okay, I think you took a guess using using access specifiers. Now tell me how using access specifiers means how.
Public.
What public? Public, what in public?
Public base class. Public base class.
Okay. अरे, as of now, you see this code is purely compilable, right? This code is purely compilable, which means you are able to create a stack using the objects on stack or on heap. So whenever someone calls it, right, this should not be doable. How? So the answer to that is simple. See, first thing we need to understand what happens when you write these statements. So what is it that gets called here? So what is it that gets called here when I write this statement? Which function gets called? Okay. Okay. So whenever we write these statements, right? So any class instance will be called by the constructor. So when you write this thing or this, the default constructor that you have written, this will be called. You understand, right? This is what it will be called. Now you don't want anyone to create an object, right? And what you can do is you just hide this guy. Now see what happens. See, you just made this private. Okay. Now you see issues here. It is saying it is inaccessible. It is inaccessible. Okay. So this is how you can limit. Okay, all this. Understood, right? You can limit someone from creating an object. Okay, in this way by non-functions. So why? What is it? What is the benefit is of this such things is like you can say that if you want to create an instance of my object, you have to use this function only, right? Instead of he declaring the object by himself, right? You should tell them you should use this function to create an object of mine, and you should make this guy a friend of this guy function. Now what will friend function do? Friend function will have access to each and every members of this class. Okay, he will have access to each and every members of this class. Now let's see, do you see any errors here? See, there are no errors in the friend function, but you see errors in the non-friend functions. So type of uh, why this type of limitations programmers would like to keep is like they want to initialize their own object in their own fashion and their own way, like friend function. Okay, this guy, okay, we'll do it this way. Now base class is private, right? Now let's assume now base class takes a string. Okay, it has a, what does it have? It has a it takes a parameter and he is going to call. Okay, in this way. So what does start I didn't declare it early. That's why I think. Okay, I'll let call this. Okay, so you can have some parameterized constructors. You have a constructors which is taking a parameter and every and you want to initialize this variable whenever you create an object. Okay, so assume you don't want them to create this object with this value. Okay, they should give something of their own. They should give some data of their own, and they should collect the data in a way that they want or which you say that it should be collected. Okay, now let's see in HPP. I'll comment this guy. Okay, now there is no default constructor. Now everything is taking an argument. Now for our example, what we'll do, we'll create a, we'll collect some string. Okay, as a console input. stdc in means this will take some data over console. I'll type something, I'll pass the same thing. Okay, I'll type something and I'll pass the same thing. Now these guys will get initialized. These two objects will get initialized with whatever that I have typed. Okay, so why I would repeat why this type of restrictions. Assume you have a class. Assume you have a class which should be initialized with some value always. It should be initialized with some value always. And this value also, collection of this value also you want to enforce. You want to enforce, okay, like this should be collected in this way only. Like this should be collected in this way only. Like assume in the scene they have collected the data. On top of it, you can write some functions. Do check like is palindrome. So you can pass this data here, okay, and if this is true, then only you can create the object. Okay, if you want to write some logic like this, all this enforcement you want to put on your class, that's when you can declare your constructors as private. Okay, you got what I'm trying to say, right? Any doubts on this so far? I'll, if
I
you
have
have.
one doubt.
Yes, please.
Is here you declare hash include derived class dot hpp extension, correct?
Correct, correct.
What is that extension?
Yeah, this is copied from here to here. Okay, so for us, we
That is
will
in
in this.
previous function or
uh, this is from previous class. I
which
have
from
copied
which? Okay, okay.
from previous class. I have copied inheritance to here. Okay, so in derived class also, even in derived class, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you are creating an object here, right? Okay, we
Mm,
can place some restrictions also. So I wanted to explain that. So for that also, I have just copied it. So for us, what matters is for this one question. For this one question, how to create a class which can only be created outside a function or no, or
okay.
which cannot be created by functions which are not um, or which are not your friend functions. Okay, so how to do that?
Mm-hmm.
You can make your constructors private. So here you have only one constructor. Okay, so which is private.
Constructor
You
private.
made it private. So when it becomes private, no one can call this constructor. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so whenever you write code something like this, okay, whether you write it on main or in some function, okay, when you write something like this, it will try to call the constructor. Okay, it will try to call some constructor. Okay, it is trying to call some constructor, but is what is happening is this constructor is declared as private, right? So it is saying inaccessible. This code will not compile. So from outside world, you cannot call the private functions. Okay. So this is one rule. Okay. This one questions they will ask. The second one is, yeah, you have any doubts on it? Okay. Okay. I like that as well. So the second one is, see, now a derived class is there, right? Now derived class also क्या होता है? Now derived, the moment you make this guy private, right? So what will happen? Okay, in derived class, you declare, you try to say import this base class into this. Okay, now what will derived class constructor will do? Derived class constructor will first call the base class constructor. Okay, it will first call the base class constructor. Okay, now what happens here? Will this code be compilable? Now let's see. I'll try to create an object of derived class here. Let's compile and see what happens here. See, you are getting some error here. Okay, now we'll see. We'll just compile it and see what is happening. What is happening here? Error. No matching function to class. Function to call base class ka constructor. So in derived class dot cpp you see error, no matching function to call base class का constructor, default constructor. Okay, base class base class. Okay, now we'll see he's saying there is no matching function because why this is commented. Okay, so you no one can call this, but at least is this he can call. We'll see here from a derived class constructor I can call my base class ka constructor. Okay, so what happens here is you the moment you write some code like this, right, how the objects are getting created, you can sequentialize matlab, so you can initialize the base class with some data here. Okay, so I'll remove this private for a while and then you guys can understand this. Okay, maybe I'll make this public. Now I have a base class constructor which is public. So the moment I make my base class constructor public, okay, so here this object I can create. Let's see, I can compile this code or not. See, I'm able to compile my code when my base class constructor is public. Okay, now I try to do what, make this class as private. Okay, when I make this as private, you will see errors in couple of places. I'll try to compile here. So what he is saying, in the constructor of derived class, so and so, he is trying to call base class ka constructor. Okay, and this cannot be accessed because this is private in context. Okay, so what does it mean? It's you are putting a restriction. You are putting a restriction that this object should not be created in any way or banned from inheriting, or you would say this object can be banned from inheriting, or how to stop inheriting a class from stop inheriting class, which means no one should be able to inherit my base class. Okay, no one should be able to inherit my base class. So what you can do is you can just declare the constructor as private. No, because the derived class object, what he will try to do, he will try to blindly call the constructor of it. Now the constructor is private. Now he is not able to call him. Okay, so am I clear on this, right? The second question, how to stop inheriting a class. Okay, so now you can ask me, what is the purpose of it? What is the use of it? I can simply say that this is just a technique that you guys should know. Like, no one should be able to inherit. Okay, but the objects can only be created by friend functions. Like, you are it's like you are giving them an interface through which they should be able to create an object. Now what is that interface? By a friend function. Using a friend function only, they should be able to create an object. So if you want to put such restrictions, you can use this techniques. Okay, now let's go to something similar. Okay, now what if, okay, you want to put one more rule like only derived class can inherit or create them. Technically inherit, create them is another question. Okay, so if you want to use a functions of a class, you should always inherit them. How you can do it? Only derived class can inherit. The moment I say inherit, so they can create one instance of the base class. How? It's using the same access specifiers itself. Okay, so any guesses? Okay, we'll try here. So this is assume this is just a function. Okay, now how someone can inherit this function? Like now, how when I declare those function, where can I declare? Public or private or protected? Yes. Public, private or protected. I can make a function either public, private or protected. Okay, when I make it public, anyone can create the object. When I make it private, okay, only friend functions or friend classes can call the constructor. Now what about this guy? What if I made this guy protected? What can happen? Any guesses?
Same as a private only. You can do that protected. It is working
No,
same, right?
no, no. Now I made this private. Okay. Now we'll see. The error here has gone.
Mhm.
Why? What is the meaning of protected? Protected means anything which you
Private.
declare as protected can be called by derived objects. Okay, anything which you declare as protected can be called by derived objects. Like assume here I made this protected. Okay, I made it was private initially, right? Now let's have another constructor. Okay, which takes some integer. Okay, and adds something like this. So what it does is I have another constructor. So it is just like parameterized constructor. This guy is taking a string. This guy is taking a integer. But this guy is protected. Now I have another way of creating the object. Another way of creating object where I take an integer and I initialize my class. Okay. Now we'll go to derived class. See, derived class is still showing error. Why? Any guesses? Because the constructor you are passing what type
That
of
object
object?
is not
No, object name. What is it that you are passing here? It's an
derived.
integer or it's a string, right? You are passing a string.
Yes, string,
Now,
yes.
so since you are passing a string, which one will
Mm.
be called? This one or this one? Line number 29 or
The
line number
private
30?
one.
the private one. Now, since
Yes.
this is private, is he able to
29,
call?
29. Yes.
It will not be able to call. Okay. So if you want to inherit, you can pass some number. You remove the string. Now you pass some number.
Mm.
Now see, let's happens. See, now you
We
don't
can
see
call that.
error. Now
Mhm.
you don't see error because he is trying to call whom? A constructor which takes integer as an argument. Okay.
Data.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is taking integer as an argument. If you want, I'll replace it.
Sir, explain once again. If which class like private will access only can't access string parameters, but it can access int type parameters like any numbers.
Yeah, I said, okay, I'll tell you. So the question is this one. First, you need to understand the question. So मेरे पास एक class है. I have a class. Okay,
Hmm.
which I
Mhm.
only want someone to inherit it. When I say someone wants it to be inherited, which means they should not be able to create it. No one should be able to create it. Create an instance of a class. Okay. So here what we are trying to do, create an instance of base class, correct? You are trying to call the
Hmm.
constructor, एक instance you are trying to create. Here you are trying to call the pointer and new. Here you are trying to create an instance. Okay. So you see errors here. Okay. So you are not able to create anything. Okay. There. Now, but you should allow the developers to inherit them. Inherit matlab you can ask them to write a derived class on top of it and use it and use the functionalities. Matlab this guy has get based data or set based data function, right? Okay. Now here what you want to do, now you want this to be done. Now get based data is a function of base class. A base class का function है, right? Get based data is a function of base class which you want to call. Okay. Now derived class, you created an instance and you want to create a call this function. Okay, let's see. Now you see what happened. Derived created, I am a derived variable. Derived class destroyed, base class destroyed. I think I didn't print anything, so you are not getting anything. This derived class constructor is hey, Sakal, you can hear me now? Hello, can you hear me now, Sakalya? Hello. Hello. Sakalya, can you hear me? You're on mute if you're speaking.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. You had any doubts on that?
No, no. That-
Okay. So okay. So I think the fourth question we are able to answer. Like
No, at the end you told something, right? No, at the end you told something, no? So classes, if you need protected, then you can do that one.
uh, that's what we've been talking about. Like if you make a class, if you make the constructor protected, only derivation is possible along
That
with that.
one,
Uh,
and
so that is this question, right?
the,
Only
okay,
derived
okay.
class can inherit. Line number 3. Only derived class can inherit them. Okay, how you can do it? You make all constructors protected. Okay. Now, how do you stop inheriting? How do you stop inheriting? You make all constructor. What we should do?
Private one.
Inheritance. Inheritance you have can avoid.
Mhm.
Now inheritance चाहिए तो only inheritance चाहिए तो protected. Okay, you
Mhm.
don't want anyone to inherit. You make all of the constructors private. Now something else there is only few functions should be able to create an instance. So how you can do it? By making friend functions. By making all constructors, make all constructors private and declare
Friend function.
friend functions. Okay. Now first one is object. Fourth one is object or instance can be created by another class only. Only a class should be able to create an instance of it. How you do it? Make all constructors private and declare classes as friends. Declare friend classes. Okay, you understood, right? Now
Yes.
final one is create object on heap only. Okay, create objects instance on heap only. How
So
we
it's where
can?
the dynamic memory is stored. That,
Yeah,
that.
only new should be allowed. New of the object should be
Mhm.
allowed. So
Mhm.
we'll remove this, we'll keep this. Okay,
The new keyword means use as a malloc, but means
only
creation of
malloc
heap only.
or new, both are heap creating objects on heap.
Mhm. Mhm.
Only this should be allowed. Okay, this should not compile, this should be able to compile. Now how we can achieve this? Okay, so for that what we can do is first we'll remove all the restrictions and see what type of objects we have. Int का है, both of them are int, right? So I'll just make this guy as, okay, let's keep this. We'll try to create something else. We'll take care. Okay, so now this is public. Okay, so इसका मतलब क्या है? So this anyone should be able to create an object. Okay, now you make this. It's okay. Any difference between them? Nothing. Okay, both are compilable, right? You are able to create an instance of base class with a character. Here also character, because the constructor is public. I will just compile this one. What is protected? This class is protected. I think it's constructor. I saved it. You see this compilable code. Okay. Now I want to make it in a way that this should not be compilable, whereas this part should be compilable. How you can make it? Okay. See, the answer to that is very simple. See, when you create an object on heap, what compiler will do? It will put constructor here, correct? And at the end, he will put destructor, correct?
Destructor.
He will put,
Hmm.
okay, for object this one,
Compiler will
instance,
put.
for this
Yeah, compiler will
constructor.
put, right? Yeah.
Compiler will put for it. He will put destructor for this, okay. But for this, what he will put? Okay, he will put constructor for this, okay, because you are saying new, he is putting constructor, okay. But will he put destructor for this? In this code, if you see in this code,
No, only first one.
he
First
will only put
instance one will
correct.
put.
Now,
Hmm.
now tell me how you make the code in a way, make changes to the code on that this would get error and this would not get error. Constructor, destructor, constructor, destructor. दोनों में ये trick. See, you should allow construction. Okay, you should not allow destruction. I'll tell you. So, see, when you write this, constructor would put code for this and this. Okay, now one of them you make private. Okay, but if you make this guy private, this guy will not compile, right? And this guy, both of them will not compile. Now, what if you make this guy private? The destructor private. Now, what if you make the destructor private? So, compiler will try to put this and this, and this construction will be allowed, but destructor will not be allowed. So you would see error here. But here, since the constructor is public and destructor you are not calling, this will be compilable. We'll just make the destructor private and see what happens. Destructor either will make this private. I made the destructor private. Now you see you are getting error. See, you are not getting error earlier. Now you see the error, but you are not getting error here. Now we'll try to compile. So compile, when we try to compile, right, it will clearly show what is error. So
That instance one.
correct. So base class का
Not
constructor
accessible
within
accessible.
instance. See, the base class का destructor is private within the context. The base class का destructor, it is not talking about arguments or anything. The destructor is private in the context. So you are not able to compile it. Now we'll just comment this part and see. See, now you don't see error with the other one, right? You are only seeing error with one guy. Now we have commented this. Now we'll base class destructor is private. It is happening in derived class. Okay, derived class CPP. What now? Derived class instance who is creating? Since we are compiling it. Okay, we are getting this error. We can temporarily comment everything. Okay, no, nothing is in derived. We will only concentrate on base class. Base class का constructors are where it can base class का constructor is public, the destructor is private. Now we are just trying to create the object on heap. Okay, now what we can do, make this perfectly compilable. See, in base int class, I think we didn't we just did a copy paste now, that's why char it was taking character. I'll just this char. Now we'll compile this again. See, char base constructor. So char base constructor, which was what public we are able to call here. Okay, but we made destructor as private, so we are not able to delete it. So creating object on heap is not allowed. Now we'll try to delete this object. We'll see what happens. See, he is showing error. Okay, you cannot compile it. Okay, so what we can do is the constructor and destructor, they both are private. Okay, so how to achieve this? Again, you can put the destructor in friend functions. Okay, now friend functions can call the private members. So you can have a way of, you can have your own functions to create and your own function to destroy it. Okay, so all these tricks you can do using access specifiers. Okay, these are all going to be some tricky interview questions that you're going to have. With the help of access specifiers, you can do all these things. Okay, am I clear on this, Sakalya?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think you can try them. See, for constructors we made public, private and all, right? Okay, so for create objects only on heap, okay, you can do it for destroy object by friends only. How you can achieve it? It is same as above. Now, because you can make the destructor private. Okay, only friends can call them. Okay, now destruct object by friend only.
If that friend function is, then whole function will be.
Yeah, he can create an
You
object
can access
and
that one.
correct.
No.
Now destroy object by friend classes. Friend classes, how you do? You make you create a friend class and put it inside it. Now another one is create objects on heap. only destructors. Next, only inheritance. Only inherited objects can destroy. How you can achieve this? Only if you inherit, you should be able to destroy. Inheritance means protected. The moment you make destructor protected, only destructors can be called by inherited objects. Okay, and you should not have any friend functions. No friend functions,